Hi, Nick. Thank you so much for your time.
Hello and welcome. Yeah, thank you for the invitation.
Okay, so first of all, Nick, I'd like you to just give a little overview about what you do at Berlin Design EV.
So the EV, maybe for international people, is stand for eingetragener Verein, translated in English to registered association. So we are not only that, we are also non-profit, which is a special status here in Germany. So it means like we are working for a specific purpose. Our purpose is like to foster and support art and culture in more specific way than design itself. And the association functions somehow as a union. So we bring together design institutes, companies, businesses, agencies, but also in other initiatives, design leaders and experts. And then with the Berlin Design Network, for example, also
Yeah.
an international or an digital hub for the design community itself, where they can inform themselves about what is happening here in Berlin.
Yeah, no, that's super interesting. I have looked at the Berlin Design Network website and it is huge. It's amazing. I'm actually going to share the link in case anyone wants to check it out.
Please do. Yeah.
Uh, but I'm curious now. I mean, of course, what you're talking about is like the overarching design landscape, but I'm curious to know about how you think it would impact very specifically the digital or the UX design landscape in Berlin.
So the problem was that there was no bigger infrastructure here in Berlin, and Berlin has the beautiful aspect of having each separated in individual design subdiscipline here. So we have like generative computational design, we have graphic design, visual design, 3D game design, fashion design, but also all the smaller subdisciplines of digital and organizational design, like UX, UI, service, transformative design, systemic design. And that's the beauty about Berlin. And for all those subdisciplines, there are communities existing. And our goal is like to support them, bring them together, have a better exchange between them because everyone can learn from each other. Most communities, they are really isolated, so they do their work like on a voluntary base, and with that they still have like the same issues and problems coming up, like finding speakers, funding, supporters, locations, where we can exchange on a more systemic level to find
Yeah.
inspiration, but also help for all those people.
That's really interesting because last week we had Matthew on who was chatting with us, and he actually mentioned about how the same thing that designers are getting sort of very siloed and fixed in what they do, just UX, just UI, maybe just graphic, but it is now the age of the all-rounder designer. So I guess so. Is it correct to say that your goal when you try to connect all these communities is to actually foster that kind of growth in, I mean, yeah, in an individual designer perhaps.
I wouldn't say we foster forward to have like holistic designers itself, per se, um, because I would maybe disagree with that. Like, I think we are more in a specialized world nowadays, and this is also what we see with the designers. And maybe now that economy is doing not so good, people don't understand the different values of specific design niches. Like, why should I hire a service designer? Why should I hire a UI or a UX designer? So I think they go more for the whole general approach. And when I look back, then this was the same thing that also happened to me when I was coming out of my design university. I think there it was more the holistic designers, but still digital product design was still like in the child shoes and was still developing there. So I think there's a need for each individual skill set and mindset Some people are more on the systemic approach. Some people are more on the artifact object orientated approach. Some people are more like analog, some digital, all those things. And I think we need this to have designers in all those different spheres. But on the other side, I still support people in a way when they think they should become also a generalist, because I think also there's a lot of beauty, and creativity doesn't make borders, or doesn't isolate itself. Like everything can be interesting, right? So I think it's always good to learn more. So, but I don't know. I heard a lot of people saying nowadays designer need to code and stuff like that. So I had this in my
That's true. They need to
bachelor
code.
degree, but I
They
never
need,
used it. So I
yeah.
don't know why this is actually an requirement. And yeah, but I can still everyone just support on this to also learn to code, because with that we are building something for the digital world. So at least understand like what is the prick of the digital world to build something, right? And it's not the digital product design, how we are pushing pixels and draw a rectangle or something like that. No, it's like the thing behind, like how is JavaScript doing with motion design? What is like HTML, CSS, other design languages? And I see in the other disciplines, like for example, like creative technologists or generative computational design, all the people had to learn, and they push boundaries with that, and they're all super happy. Like learn to use it for your own advantage, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, that's the thing. I feel like we're in a really interesting time right now where there is a lot of talk about how the role itself is sort of changing, and there's a lot of requirements. Some of the requirements say you have to learn to code. Some say learn every no-code tool, get a basic understanding of this. You need to be a service designer, graphic designer, motion designer, 3D, AR, every single thing. And I guess it's getting overwhelming. But then you would say that that's just the way forward.
Yeah, yeah. I also understand that there's it's a lot to learn then, but for
Yes.
example, like I also have to sit now down and learn like the AI tools, right? I didn't learn them in my job. I didn't learn them in my former career or in my university studies. So this is something I also have to learn, but it can be fun. Like uh, just try to have fun by learning. So this is like how I also learned Photoshop when I was a teenager. I was just like interested in photo manipulation. And then I sat down and had like tutorials, and I just rebuilt all that stuff. And at one point I noticed like, okay, I'm free to do whatever I want. And with that, I built like funny collages and photo manipulations. And there was no bigger purpose like this needs to be now for my career or something like that, right? I mean, this is easy talk when we are in a fucked up economy. Uh, so I understand there's a different mindset behind that then, but still I think like humor and playfulness are like the bigger things that we can have in education and learning. And also what I see, don't follow like the others, like what you can see with the portfolios. There's no fun, there's no humor in there. It's no authenticity. So we hire people and not robots, right? So when AI can do that stuff in a couple of years, or they can already in a way. So why should I hire someone where the portfolio looks like it's AI generated already? Yeah.
No,
So
that's
also be authentic and learn to be yourself, and learn to be what makes you, and go in this direction. And yeah.
okay, that's actually really interesting because you're right. A lot of the portfolios, especially at the entry or junior level, are sort of following a similar structure. And yet, there is also a lot of confusion on really how a beginner, I mean, for a lot of people, how a portfolio should look, which is why there's also a lot of resources on portfolios. This is how you can do your portfolio, whatever. So, I mean, so are you saying, so what you're saying is that someone should just take a step back and look at a portfolio as almost a form of creative expression. Like, yes, you have to talk about your work, but you also have to show your individuality. And I guess then for designers, we just need to remember where we started from. It came from a place of interest and passion.
Hmm.
Okay, yeah, that's interesting because I guess then again, a lot of us maybe who've just been so focused on, like, I don't know, growth and outcomes, maybe we forget just to play around with color or typography, which is also very important because at the end of the day, we are trying to create delightful experiences.
Hmm.
And but then this brings me to the next question. I agree with you in theory totally, but in reality, when someone's actually working on this, they're trying to learn all these tools, they're trying to find jobs. Now, not only do they have to encapsulate their work in a case study, but the portfolio now needs to be good. So, how do you think aspiring job seekers would deal with this? I think it could lead to burnout. And so, how do you think they could deal with this burnout?
Hmm. Mm. But I still think that there's then also like for UX, UI, of course, maybe you don't have to go into the self-expression artistic approach. Like I was talking before, that it's not the same, all the same stuff. But I don't know. I would say most of the people are still describing themselves as creative, but what I see is not creative. And it's okay, like digital product design or especially user experience doesn't have to be that creative. And it's also okay to be like that. And this is also what you see, like compared to the other designers, like visual design, communication, illustration. There's more like about like this expression and more like this artistic approach. Express yourself, and digital product design is more about like express the society, express systems and stuff like this. So, but still, you can then go into a direction of like systemic thinking, psychology, all those things like behind UX, engineering, measurement, and with that you can then also create better use cases and case studies. So yeah, and this is something you can show if you want to show like that you really specialized in it and you want to go into the depth. So like I said, there's so much connection to everything, and which is the beauty of design, that yeah, it doesn't need to be like superficial on a way. And yeah, don't go into burnout. Like go for self improvement. Not, no, I don't like the word. Go for yeah, work on yourself and find yourself also with that, and push the limits of yourself. So when you are able to create something more creative, when you are able to create also maybe something more in depth, this will be shown directly in your work. And yeah,
Actually,
but
that's
also
beautiful.
I'm
Yeah.
not a recruiter or anything, right? So this is also easy talk, I think, and this is maybe also not something that is like helpful for the people. But I can imagine that also. I know a lot of CEOs, founders, and all that stuff, and I can imagine that they also work a little bit like me. That when they want to hire a designer, then they want to see that they are also a designer. And this is then with creativity or like good usage of the skills and methods and stuff like that, and show that something is behind. So it's not just like following methodology, because yeah, then we don't need designers when because everyone can use a method, right? So and then you do it like 3 times, and yeah, I don't know about mastery of methodology. Um, but yeah, that you have like critical thinking, maybe also be connected to like insights of sustainability, psychology, all those things that are super valuable. Yeah.
Okay, no, that's really interesting. And then my one of my last few questions to you. there's just a lot of speculation on what this year or maybe even the coming few years are going to look like in the UX design. I would say landscape. I've used that word so many times, but anyway, the the ecosystem perhaps for this year. So, what is your prediction, and is there anything that the Berlin Design EV is doing specifically in this direction?
Um, yeah, so what we are currently trying to build up is the political influence, so that the whole ecosystem of design can have a better support system, new fundings, and stuff like that. But yeah, this is also like super, yeah, fucked up. Like administration has to save so much money, so a lot of those events, big events, will I think be cut down. The good part is that the communities, they were always like community run, so more on a volunteer base, and I think with that it's like a really it's not sustainable for the community leaders, but at least sustainable for the communities itself, because you can easily switch through, build up a new team, and because there's no bigger structure behind that. And I think that's the power of like design communities. So with that, we try to support them, that they can exchange better, that they do better in general. But what I saw from administration, also for the next years, there will be bigger cuts, and a lot of the infrastructure that was built there will be maybe cut down or even gone also, which is super sad because design is a third of the creative sector, creative industry in Berlin, but the least supported one. So yeah, this also shows like we have to maybe not just think about communities and stuff like that, but also how can we tackle like the bigger problems, because there is power in like lobbyism, in having a union, in building up pressure on administration and also politicians. And as long as we are still working on community level, we won't have this ecosystem for us and ourselves. And like I said, it's a third of the whole industry or the whole creative industry. And yeah, so I think we have much more power in there. And yeah, so I think events will be cut down maybe, or all community run. And I don't know about like the companies itself. I mean, UX was always doing good. That's why we also had like a lot of people migrate into UX UI from other disciplines. So till the point where it was overcrowded, of course. So you have a lot of competitors now there, which is a problem. And yeah, but still it was more connected to the core businesses than graphic design or all the other people who lost their job way earlier. And UX UI always has like the benefit of working in the tech sector. So when the tech sector will come back, then also of course UX UI, and the rest of the design disciplines will follow, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, so hopefully that is how it works out. The tech sector comes back as soon as possible and everything starts to pick up and bloom once again. Okay, but so I guess at a granular level, then the takeaway is that for the individual designer, do not forget your passion. Get back into the roots of design and why you got into design at a community level. I guess just show up. And for the community leaders to be more involved in, I guess, trying to make systemic change somehow. Okay, so
Yeah, to connect also on each other. And I think this is also for the community leaders really valuable, because you are not working only for your community, also try to develop yourself further, right? And after a year of running communities, you know already how to run a community. Then you can check on personal growth and find other people that you can exchange with. Maybe how to monetize also a community, stuff like that. And also for, like you said, for the individuals, I wouldn't say like just go to community events, but go to community events outside of your box. Like maybe not digital product design. Maybe go to developers, or maybe go to founders or marketing or whatever, and learn other skill sets there. And yeah, because this is also like when we check or when we have a look at companies, design companies normally don't go or profit from going to a design event, right? Because
Yeah.
you need clients, and the clients are not other designers. So you go to fairs of automotive, consumer products, sustainable transformation, whatever, right? So you go to the other people to sell your products. And I think this is also what an individual designer can learn. Like if you want to sell yourself, like learn from the other things, learn about other systems, and then this strengthens you too. And also be more creative. Like not everyone has to be like a employee or a freelancer. There are so many more different business models, like freelancers working in a collective, then founding an agency, founding a company, build your own product. There are budgets for that, like all the budgets for creative and cultural sectors are cut. So maybe go into like a startup scene and build your own stuff and learn there how to manage. And then you can also, when it fails, like you can still learn from that, like how to manage people, or how to focus on what is valuable. And then maybe you also understand your leads in a way that say like, oh, sorry, we don't have the budget, we don't have the resources on that, we have to make this finish, we have to finish this, and then we can move on. And then you understand like, okay, yeah, now I understand their point in a bigger scale. And so there's so much stuff you can learn from, like business, communication, marketing, developing. Yeah.
No, that's a good point because I realized I also almost only exclusively go to design events, even though I've always enjoyed talking with colleagues who are doing other things. So actually, that's a good reminder, I guess, for me and for our whole community. Go to other things. And actually, yeah, Berlin Design, the Berlin Design Network is a great resource. So actually, that could be a good place for a lot of the confused people to start. And I think, other than that, Nick, thank you so much for your honesty and for all of the really actionable advice and suggestions that you have given. I mean, it's great because it's at an individual level, but also at a leadership level. So I found that super helpful.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you so much for the exchange, and yeah, looking forward also to the other interviews,
Yeah.
what other people have to say. Since I'm not, like, also as a disclaimer, I never recruited anyone, except of course like for our own association. But this is more like personal insights, what I experienced on the whole systemic overview of the design sector and industry. Yeah, take it with a pinch of salt. Yeah.
Well, all right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a nice
Okay.
day.
Bye. Bye.